Welcome on into the Willie Podcast Show. I'm Willie Cologne, and he is
JJ, baby. What's going on with you, Big Willie? What's been going on with you past weekend?
Oh, man, life is lifing, if you will, JJ. How have you been? We will recap a lot, and we will get into a lot. First and foremost, we dropped on Spotify last week. So for everybody out there, check out the Willie Podcast, dropping every Tuesday afternoon. And you can hear what me and Jay just chopping it up and what we're talking about on Spotify on Tuesday. And then obviously on YouTube will be the next day, which is Wednesday. That will be the video, that is. JJ, let's get right into it. Halloween was amongst us. Did you get dressed up for Halloween?
Big Willie, I'm going to be honest. No, I didn't. It was raining down here for Halloween. And as a matter of fact, you had a lot of people that switched it from that Thursday to that Wednesday, and some people in the neighborhood switched it from that Wednesday to that Saturday, from that Thursday to the Saturday, so they can do, trick or treating. And Big Willie, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was just burnt out, man. I just dressed as myself and relaxed. I mean, have you ever seen a relaxed man for Halloween?
I haven't seen a relaxed JJ, so I gotta give you that. I get it. I think for me, I had to work, man. The Jets were playing the Houston Texans. Obviously, for those who follow me and follow everything I have going on, I'm cover the Jets pre and post on SNY, which is regional New York, and I also jump on Breakfast Ball with Craig Carr, March Lariff, and Danny Parkins on every other week. So that's me. Nevertheless, the kids got dressed up. I was mostly happy for them. I wasn't able to attend the festivities with them, which sucks, right? Because you as a dad, you want to kind of get them dressed up and do all that stuff. I did a little bit of that the past Sunday, but on Halloween Day, my daughter was Elsa from Frozen. I don't know if you're aware of what Frozen is.
I heard of it.
Yeah, she was Elsa, and my son was a Cobra, like a Cobra ninja type. And he was extremely excited about that. So I got a bunch of footage from the wife. She documented it all. But Halloween, as for the clones, meaning my wife and I, excluding the kids, we did not get dressed up. And usually we do get dressed up. We have no problems of getting dressed up. I'm all about themes. One thing I hate, I think I've said this before on the show, if there's a theme to a party and you do not participate in the theme, then don't come to the party. Like I will forever stand on that. That is part of my Willie 10 Commandments. If there's a theme and you do not partake in the theme, just stay home. It's okay. We'll see. It's going to pop up on IG or whatever. You'll find it. But just do not show up. Don't be like, hey, I didn't know what to wear. Usually themes come with instructions, right? You just chose not to follow it or be cheap and just kind of do your own thing. So, but this Halloween I did not participate because Daddy, meaning me, was at
and
work.
I was looking forward to seeing what you was going to dress up as, Big Willie. I was looking at the social media. I was looking at your story. I was looking every day. I said, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. And I didn't see it, Big Willie. We got disappointed, Big Willie. I'm going to be honest with you. I think we were more excited to see what you were going to wear for Halloween than the children. We were waiting, Big Willie.
JJ pushing along. We got to talk about it. Episode 1 of the Belle Collective dropped Friday.
Woo!
Where did you watch and what do you think?
Big Willie, I was right here at home with got done in my wine, my popcorn, and I had some Wendell Steakhouse got done and sitting there eating on some so Gucci had a Simon, and I think I got the red royal shrimp with a baked potato with some green onions and butter and salt and pepper. And Big Willie, I was sitting right there in front of that TV, got done and just taking it all in. I gotta say, they started it off, got done it juicy, Big Willie. And all I can say, Big Willie, is going to get even juicier, got done it. All I can tell you, you better carry a bucket or got done cup, because got done it's going to be juice everywhere, got done splatter. All I got to tell them, get ready, Big Willie, because they ain't seen nothing yet. It get even spicier. The seasoning is coming.
For everybody that's new to listening to JJ and I are both husbands to Keisha and So Gucci, who happen to be on the Belle Collective show, which is on Oprah's own. With that said, a lot to dive into. It was great to see Keisha kind of start off the season. It was good in that regard. If those who aren't aware of Keisha's plight or a kind of storyline on the show, is she's kind of the head and spearheading the revitalization of Fair Street, which is a historic district in Jackson, Mississippi. With that said, she got her own building on Fair Street, and she's looking to kind of partner up some people now. So Gucci's is I think in the works of really putting her flag down on Fair Street and potentially the building that Keisha's owning. With that said, there was a multitude of storylines. One that was interesting that I don't think got enough attention, or maybe it did. Maybe it just wasn't me. It was Letitia and Glenn and white women sliding in my DMs.
Woo, Big Willie. You ain't tell me that, Big Willie. What you got them sliding in your DMs, Big Willie? You ain't telling us.
I do have women sliding my DMs. Not necessarily hollering at me.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's sports talk, or sometimes it's really congratulating Keisha and I on all the work we do in the community and how they can be a part of it. But I haven't had one in a long time, because my wife is all over my social media and people know I'm happily married, to be like, "Hey, big fella, drop that chicken dinner and get with this steak dinner over here." I haven't received any of that.
So you sound like you kind of being blackballed and set up a little bit, Big Willie.
It's just weird. Like, my energy. First of all, in this current state of social media, the way people get outed all the time, don't you think I would be a lot smarter than to reply to anybody in regards of, "Oh yeah, my wife"? Like, first of all, let's start here. My wife, and this is to every female out there who decides to slide or want to slide, my wife has my social media account. She has my password. All my back and forth on DMs go to her computer. So she's very clear about what's going on and what I'm saying. So she would have been the first one to be like, "I know you done lost your motherfucking mind."
Exactly.
If something fishy or something out of pocket was to be going on. So that's why it was bullshit. But on top of that, it was just interesting to hear who it supposedly came from.
Ain't that
which
the
was
truth?
Like,
well, you know what they say.
Really?
If somebody else's house got done kind of messed up, they gonna try to mess yours up too. They gonna throw some dirty laundry in that too now, Big Willie. Misery love company.
But I also think people, me and Keisha, talk about our marriage. I think we try to be vulnerable and expose things we are involved in, and also things we don't do well with in our marriage. I think we're clearing that from that aspect. With all that said, I'm never marriage is hard. Marriage isn't easy, and I think we try to promote a healthy Black marriage and show the once again the pros and the cons, but also try to be realistic. One thing I'm happily married, and I don't say that to be like on TV showing off, "Oh, we're the Huxtables" type vibe. No, we have our good and bad times, but I can say first and foremost, no woman's gonna break this up. I can tell you right, no woman's gonna break my marriage up. If anybody breaks my marriage up, it's gonna be me.
There you go.
Or my wife.
There you go.
Because of a poor decision they made. There won't be somebody else coming in here and destroying my house. And I won't even give nobody the platform nor the energy to do so. What's interesting, the reason I say it from the people that it came from, because that's their storyline. That's their storyline. Their storyline is how Glenn is stepped out and done XYZ. Now he's a new man and he's onward and doing whatever he does. But don't bring that energy over here. Like, that got nothing to do.
Big Willie, leave y'all alone. Y'all good.
Yeah, we
keep
good.
Whatever they got going on over there, the Willie Colognes are happily, and y'all good, and y'all don't need all their energy. Just leave y'all alone, basically.
And I did. I remember on camera, off camera, I did confront Glenn about that, and he was like, "That's all bullshit. He would never." Okay, but it was it was just interesting that it came from that direction, if you will. So,
okay, so let me get this correct. If I'm not mistaken, it was Latrice that told Keisha that Letitia is the one that masterminded all this up.
Yes, that's what we saw and heard. Yes, yeah.
Okay. Boy, it's a dirty world out here. So
it's cold. It's cold-blooded, Jack. So there's still a lot to come. There's still a lot to be talked about and discussed. We can only say so much. But I thought episode 1 overall was a good one.
Oh, yeah. And, I had the little issue as well, Well, I didn't have a little issue, but so Gucci had an issue with Tamara, if you can remember where, we had to go to court. And all of a sudden, Tamara came over there and she told me, well, I was subpoenaed to come. And so Gucci was like, if you want to support your friend, that's fine. Don't act like you had to get subpoenaed just to come here. If you just had to say, if you could have just told me, you supporting your friend, she say, it's okay. You supporting your friend. So, she felt.
But don't lie about being subpoenaed.
Exactly. So she was like, she don't understand why a person would get subpoenaed just to come there, and it's a difference between getting subpoenaed and supporting. She said, if she just had told us you supporting your friend, look here, I know y'all got done with rocking with each other from the door. It is what it is. But, that's where they feel like all the lies is always coming in.
I saw a recent clip of 50 Cent on the Breakfast Club, and I think this coincides with what you're talking about. He said, when it comes down to dealing with people who are on the fence, he pushes them on one side of the fence. He doesn't allow them to, well, I don't know, I bang with you, but that's also my girl. He goes, no, if that's who you rock with, stay over there.
There you go.
Because I'm strong enough by myself to handle anything and everything that comes my way. And it's a very good, I guess, it's a very good way of thinking about it, because I have been, one, the person on the fence, and two, have dealt with people like, man, Willie, I fuck with you. We go back a long time, man. But that is my man, da-da-da-da-da. Instead of being like, if that's your man, be with your man.
Exactly.
Because those who are loyal and true to you, there is no discussion. And sometimes people are put in a rough position. I get that, because I've been in there. However, that's why it's always best to say nothing. And two, when it comes down to decision, you may have to pick and then take what comes along with that. But sometimes your loyalty and respect, all that comes into question anytime you're put in that position. But I kind of like what 50 said, and I think it was on the Breakfast Club. He was like, listen, if you're on the fence, I'm going to push you on the other side of the fence.
I agree. I like that.
Because if you know what I stand for and what I'm about, my intentions are never malicious or evil. So or XYZ. Now I know a lot of things come with context, but it's a great way to go about. It's a great way of dealing with people who say, I'm on the fence, bro. I'm like, all right, well, stay there.
Exactly.
I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you before I tell you. So,
well, this the best thing about this show, Big Willie, because on deeper into the season, we're gonna see who get pushed on to the other side of the fence.
That's true. You ain't lying.
Yeah,
you ain't lying about that. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. Come on back, Wild Willie Podcast Show. Welcome on back to the Wild Willie Podcast Show. JJ's time for Hot Topics. Let's talk about it.
Woo.
You know who Jason Kelce is, right?
Do we? He's still trying to get that Super Bowl, ain't it?
Well, no, Jason's retired.
I know.
Jason's done with it, but nevertheless, man, Jason Kelce was at Penn State. He was at the Penn State-Ohio State game this Saturday when this footage came out of him. Penn State fan walks up to him, follows him, and says, hey, Kelce, how does it feel your brother is he calls him a slur, for dating Taylor Swift? While recording him with his phone, fan was seen showing Kelce. Jason responded by grabbing this dude's phone and smashing it on the ground in front of a group and yelled out, who's the blank now? The word he used was a gay slur, if you will. So with that, a lot of the internet doesn't have a problem with what Jason Kelce did. He was being harassed. He was literally leaving the set, I guess going to his car or wherever his form of transportation was. There was a guy with a camera in his hand, said something derogatory about his brother. Jason turned around. Mind you, people got to this guy's just fresh off the field. So he's still very much a football player. He hasn't been seasoned by the corporate world, even though him and his brother have done great things they have their own cereal. They have the New Heights podcast that was picked up by Spotify. They got a gazillion bucks for. Their mama is a walking endorsement, is a walking brand. Obviously his brother, Travis, who plays for the Chiefs, is dating Taylor Swift. So the family has it going on. They're probably the hottest brothers in America right now, as far as like all eyes on them.
Mm-hmm.
JJ, I'm gonna be honest, man. It's easy to say it's different, right? Because I've been in this situation before. Sometimes you forget the hats you wear, and when somebody presses that one button to set you off, and it could throw you off. Meaning, if you talk about my family, especially my brother, it is a sensitive spot for me because I'm just, that's how we're raised. You talk about me and my family, it's about to go down. However, this man's on ESPN. He's on Monday Night Football. He's sitting at multiple desks. He's getting paid probably way more money than he was being paid while he was playing. And he's an all-pro center. He's a hell of a player. It's kind of one of them things, man. Like and I've said this to you before. If somebody can control your emotions, they can control you.
Exactly.
And that was like a walking example. That was an example of somebody said the right thing to control him, and he lost his shit. Mm-hmm. I don't fault him for his actions because he was defending his family's honor and his brother's name. But at the same time, man, this is why ball players need to have that extra buddy next to them, right? To need to have that somebody kind of snatch you up. I was fortunate to have my brother, to have people in my own team to say, hey, man, don't get into it with this guy. Don't say this back, because at the end of the day, even if you kick his ass, you still lose, right? There's no winning in this situation. And what's crazy, if you watch the video, the guy actually pushes Kelce. He actually gets pushed. And I'm thinking this dude, I think Kelce's about to jump up and just rip this guy's head off. He does have enough restraint and kind of walks away. I don't know what to think about the incident. All I know is Kelce's not wrong, but there should be security with somebody of his celebrity at this moment. He's got to hire security. And it's hard to think an offensive lineman needs security when we're normally the security. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, to be honest with you, it's just like you said. He fresh off, fresh out there right now. He's just retired. I mean, everything going on with the family. And sometimes it ain't just about if you can handle yourself, goddamn it. Like you say, normally by being on the line, y'all protecting everybody else. But now, it's like you need protection. You need protection in other ways. It ain't goddamn it so nobody can fight you, so somebody else can fight your battle. You need protection for people to stand in, like you said, and handle stuff that you really don't need to be handling it, even though you can, so it won't cut back on you, because you got to look at this man a walking target. So you got people out here chastising, doing stuff just to trying to create a problem, because they know if he do just the tittiest thing, bam, lawsuit. And one thing about athletes and stuff like that, y'all ain't got no place up in the goddamn courtroom. If something that looks goddamn it like y'all the one initiated or y'all the one caused, it don't matter if you was in the right or not, and they see money, that lawyer gonna do everything they can to try to get that person paid.
Well, I gotta say this, Jay, and we've both heard this, and I know Mike Tyson has gone viral for saying this. Social media has allowed the average Joe to say anything and everything without a consequence. This seems like one of those moments. If I'm Jason Kelce, I would have loved to be like, you know what, dude, you're right. But I'm about to go to this gas station up the road. It's about 2 miles up the road. No cameras. Let's have this conversation man to man. Like, some people deserve their ass beat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like that.
Some people do. I'm like, there's a gas station 2 miles up the road. I think it's a Sunoco. Man, I'm about to go in there and get like a ginger ale, maybe some chips. But around back, there's not going to be any cameras. You can meet me up there, and we can really have this conversation, man.
Yeah.
I think that no cameras, just because you could tell the guy was in the mix of a crowd.
Oh yeah.
It looks like he's going live with it, and he's trying to embarrass Jason Kelce for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason. Jason Kelce went to Cincinnati. It wasn't like he went to Ohio State or Penn State. He went to Cincinnati, played at the University of Cincinnati with Travis Kelce. So he has no ties to the school, two schools that are being played that day, that are playing that day. Excuse me. So I'm saying to myself, bro, what was the guy's angle? And this is why I get mad at the average Joe who decides to be a hardo. Mm-hmm. What's their end game, bro? What's your end game? What was your end game for calling Jason Kelce's brother, a gay slur? And at the end of the day, what did you want to happen once that came out your mouth? You think he was gonna be like, "Oh, God, stop playing around"? What? What are you doing?
It's all premeditated. It's always game. You just, like they say, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, and it's all game. When people do stuff, it's always it's always something that it's always a reason that they do what they want to do.
My question to you, for somebody, because you've been in the spotlight for some time now, Have you ever faced that dealing with your own girls or maybe So
Oh
Gucci or Selena
yes.
where,
Oh yeah,
oh,
man.
really?
Plenty of times. Especially got, when the girls coming up young and everything, people say something, inappropriate and you trying to ignore it, because you know that they're
In
trying to
public,
make
though,
you say
Jay?
stuff.
In public, Jay?
Oh yeah, in public too, they see the girls are young, but you had a grown man that'll say something inappropriate or whatever, and you be like, is this man trying to make me really goddamn say something, and goddamn they don't supposed to be goddamn saying the thing that they saying about the girls being so young, but they'll do it. And I don't think it'll take, you to goddamn go over there and straighten them, and then all of a sudden there it is. Like I say, when people do stuff, it's always a motive.
Yeah, that would bother me the most because one, you're talking about my young daughter, and valid. It is a dance competition, and they wear their outfits, and their outfits are what they are. But I do expect another grown man to realize they're looking at a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old and be like, hey, man, I shouldn't say a goddamn thing because it's all the way creepy. And two, what do you have to say that's like nothing out of pocket should be coming out of your mouth as a grown man talking about another little girl.
Exactly. And you be
It's
like,
just
did you just
egregious
hear
on so
this?
many. Yeah. I don't know how you restrain that because I don't know. That's my biggest fear with my daughter, and I don't know what Holly if she's going to play sports or where she's going to be. But I couldn't listen to another man saying anything derogatory about my daughter, and me just sitting there like, oh, you talking about the day I may get locked up? That may happen. Yeah, that may be the day I lose my shit. So
exactly.
you showed you show way more restraint in that regard when it comes to that. Moving on, JJ. Joel Embiid confronts a reporter in the locker room following game, and he allegedly shoved him. Joel, you know who he is,
Oh
plays for the
yeah.
Philadelphia 76ers, gives my Knicks hell all the time, got into a heated confrontation with a reporter, Marcus Hayes, who's a pretty popular reporter, by the way, following an article from Marcus that mentions Embiid's son and Embiid's dead younger brother. I guess the two had an altercation in the locker room. Embiid ended up saying this out loud where others could hear. The next time you bring up my dead brother and my son again, you're going to see what I'm going to do to you, and I'm going to have to live with the consequences. This is what Embiid supposedly said to Hayes. Hayes offered an apology, which Embiid did not want. Because Embiid went on to say, this isn't your first fucking time saying this. JJ, your thoughts before I go.
That's the thing I keep telling you. People do stuff for a reason. It's always a motive. And in this day and time, it's all about getting money. And people know what to do to push your buttons, but you got to be the smart enough person to not let them do that. Because if you got done it, just snap, do what you want to do like Embiid said he gonna do. I mean, that man don't want. So now he got to sit there, give an apology. Then got done. This man got a lawyer, so the NBA or him or his agent or somebody gonna have to settle, all because he let them get in their head. And like you say, when a person get in your head, they control the narrative. They got in his head, they control the narrative. Now they got the motive, they got everything. Man, it's like my grandmama used to say, my mom. Trouble is so easy to get into and so hard to get out of. And that's one of these situations with all these reporters and everybody that do stuff to try to get next to you.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because I lived in that world, right? Sometimes one thing I'm happy about, and this means, and I mean this seriously, I wasn't, a good portion of my career wasn't when social media was around. It was just kind of bubbling. Nobody really knew what social media was as far as Twitter, Facebook, or whatever. I mean, it was around, but it was just kind of up and coming. It wasn't until my later years where Twitter and all this stuff really started kind of brewing and really form into something. Beat writers are somebody who you see every day. So outside of just knowing your normal J journalist, you're dealing with somebody who you see more frequent than others. And the more popular the team becomes, the more media attention you do get. Saying all that to say, when you're seeing these beat writers time after time, you do tend to build somewhat of a personal relationship with these guys. These are the guys who are asking you like, hey, how's everything at home before they ask you a question about the team? Meaning they will ask you about your brother or your mama or your wife, or, they will kind of find a personal angle to disarm you. Because if I ask you, think about it, Jay, if I start a conversation asking about how your wife and mama are doing, you're naturally going to drop your you're going to drop your guard because you're going to feel like, all right, this dude kind of, he's not being a dick. He's asking about people I know and love. So that kind of disarms me. With that said, a lot of times when these beat writers write these pieces, they don't think the athlete will ever see it. But the athletes see it more because of social media. There's clippings. There's Twitter's more, people kind of, repost and kind of show where, this article came from and who wrote it. On top of that, now there's streaming, there's podcasts. So if an athlete's engaged in social media, he can hear about him on a podcast. He can see himself on social media, and he can see it on TV. So my biggest problem with today's world that the athletes live in, there's no turning it off. There's no way of turning. They can never turn it off. They can't turn off social media. They can't turn off TV, and they can't turn off what's being said about them. Because either their friends, family, or agent are telling them, social media is telling them, or their community is telling them, or the beat writers themselves are kind of reminding them constantly about what they are doing and what they aren't doing, on top of dealing with all the other stress that's on top of their head, family, financial, this, that, and the third. So there's a lot of stress on the athlete. And if you're somebody who's always engaged, which seems like Embiid is, just like Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is always clapping back at something somebody said on TV or on Twitter. And so if you're a fan, if you're an athlete who's always engaging, man, things could set you off. And especially when it's your son and your dead younger brother like that. Those are like, it seems like intimate topics that you really don't want to touch, period. I don't fault Embiid. I don't fault Embiid for snapping. I just realized that it goes to what the current state of the athlete is dealing with. Michael Jordan ran court. He spoke to his 30 to 40 reporters. After he said what he said, he was off, right? He could turn it off once he left the locker room. He didn't have to worry about what somebody was tweeting about him. He didn't have to worry. If anybody said anything, he either read it in the paper or he didn't see it at all. Now that today's athlete, there's no turnoff. It's everywhere. I mean, even in New York, the bus stops have news reports. You know what I mean? Now, in New York, in the bus stop, if you're standing at the bus stop, they'll have like a 10-minute kind of today's weather. This was said. This star was caught with a DUI. So there's no turnoff for the athlete or actor or entertainer. So if you're constantly dealing with that, and if you're insecure about things in your life, or maybe there's some topics that rub you the wrong way, man, it can cause you to snap the fuck out. And by the way, Embiid's not a small man. He's all of 7'1", 275 pounds. So that's the wrong dude you want to run into. And supposedly Embiid shoved him into a locker room. Excuse me, Embiid supposedly shoved him into a locker, and it was broken up. I have seen beat writers been suspended. When I was at my time with the New York Jets, man, we had a beat writer who's a notorious beat writer for just kind of doing things that was a little bit lowbrow or writing some articles that, seemed like it didn't seem like he was just in doing so. Like, it seemed like there was something personal behind every article he wrote. And he ended up getting suspended because he took it a little too far. And I think more journalists should be watched. I do. I think I think more journalists and more people should be put in a position to, like, hey man, you said XYZ. Why did you say so? Like, because I remember one time I had there was this beat writer, man, and he said something to me. He said, because I used to read the paper. He wrote something about me in the paper, and I went up to him. I was like, why did you say XYZ? And he explained it. He didn't back down. He was like, well, you got a penalty here, and I see you've been you're not playing at the best, or you haven't played like we know you can play that. He kind of read it, list off, and we had a casual conversation about it. And I told him my reasons why I'm ailing, and maybe some of the things I was dealing with on the field. And he got a different perception, right? And so it was a healthy, mature conversation. But I do believe the athlete has the right to confront the beat writer. If the beat writer is going to write and say whatever he wants, then the athlete has a right to kind of approach it like, hey, man, you said XYZ. This is not true. This is true. Let's talk about it. But let's be men about it, right? Don't run from it. Don't back like, well, I didn't say that. Yeah, obviously you did. It's right there in the paper for all to see. So don't cower it out. And so I do think there's room for that. But a lot of times guys necessarily don't know how to articulate their feelings. And a lot of times guys don't want to make it seem like, because if I let this beat writer know he got me, then his name grows from that, right? Like, oh, JJ Williams had an altercation with I don't know, TC from Jackson State head coach. He said XYZ. Now, people don't care about what TC necessarily said. They just care about his reaction, and now you have a name for pissing off TC. That's how people grow in that business. So it's interesting. I think I have a lot of empathy for today's ball player because there's no turning it off, especially when you're amongst the elite. I mean, they're in your business, your mama's business, your brother's business. It goes on and on and on. So it never stops. So, all right, next up, JJ, you know who Young Thug is, right?
Woo, don't we?
Young Thug has been released. It says right here, Young Thug is finally out from jail after accepting a plea deal that accounts for time served and allows him to not serve any more jail time. He will be on probation for 15 years, and here are some of the terms. He must stay away from the metro Atlanta area for the first 10 years of his probation, except for weddings, funerals, graduations, or a serious of illness of an immediate family member. He can arrive 24 hours before the event and must leave within 48 hours. He must make an anti-gang, anti-gun violence presentation at a grade school, middle school, or high school, or at an organization like the Boys and Girls Club. He also cannot knowingly have contact with any member of a criminal street gang, with the exception of his brother and the rapper Gunna, with whom he has contractual obligations to. He cannot participate in any criminal street gang activity or promote any gang, including, if you know about the case, Young Thug was arrested of May of 2022. He was charged with RICO racketeering, basically accused of masquerading as a gang leader, as kind of the kingpin, if you will. He started a gang that has close affiliations to the National Blood Gang. The name of his gang was YSL. And it was a part of his record label. Now, JJ, I got to ask you one question. Somebody who was in the music business and did a lot and served as a manager and other titles. Do you think rap lyrics, should be able to be used against someone in court?
Whoo. I'm going to be honest with you, Big Willie. People rap about what they do and what they on scene in everyday life. And, that's the reason they used to tell you one thing about detectives and stuff. If you ever got something going on, they ain't got to do nothing but listen to your music, look at social media, and basically they don't make their jobs easier just off listening to what you're saying and looking at social media. And a lot of guys don't got busted like that. And they don't realize you basically telling everybody what you don't did. And you making the cops and the detectives got done in the FBI and everybody out here job easier because of what you saying and what you doing. I mean, you on the social media, you posting up gang signs, you throwing up guns, you got there posting your guns, you talking about what you don't did, you talking about everything that don't happen. And when they go to the reports, all they got to look at it and say, damn, he just told us everything we got in this report right here. So now you don't made yourself look crazy. And then a lot of people are saying, now, even on Thug Daddy said he didn't think got done and he should have took the plea deal, because that's basically like setting him up for destruction, because he ain't got to do number one something, say one something. And all of a sudden, them 15, 20 years that you got done it thought you weren't going to have to do, now you got to serve all of it. If I'm in the streets and I'm sitting here got done it rapping about stuff I don't did to prove to you about my reputation, Big Willie, the last thing I'm going to do as a street guy and a rap artist is let somebody disrespect me. Now I can say it right now because I'm up in the courtroom and I just want to get out. And I'm gonna be good, guy. It's kind of like being in a car accident. When you're in a car accident, Big Willie, first thing you be sitting there, you be like, dang, depending on how bad it is, man, I don't want to drive no more. I ain't gonna drive. At home, you probably sit at home for about 2 weeks to a month because you shaking up, but all of a sudden, you get back up in that car and start driving. It's like, goddamn, you ain't never been in an accident. So my thing is, by you being out of jail, after them 2 weeks to a month, you start getting back into your old habits and don't even got done to be trying to, because your partners, your friends, your cousins and everything, even though you say, Big Willie, you ain't going to be around them, you ain't in Atlanta, you still going to be conversating and dealing with the same people they dealing with. So it's kind of like, okay, you out, but it sounds like a setup all at the same time.
Yeah, hip hop is interesting from this standpoint. The more egregious, the more violent, the more ways an entertainer or a rapper can prove that he's really about that life makes him more successful.
Mm-hmm.
We forget that Ricky Ross really stole the image of Freeway Ricky Ross.
Exactly.
That he was a correction officer, a guy who had a legit 9-to-5, but he took somebody else's image and took on the whole persona that Ricky Rose, Freeway Rose really was. And that's when he became known, because if he was to rap about his time as a CEO or making a 9-to-5 or just being a responsible citizen, ain't nobody listen to that.
No.
So he had to talk about hurting his community and go to extremes and let people know that he wasn't one to mess with, for people to actually love him and respect him. And that's more of that's more of the people who are fans of hip hop, right? Because a lot of these dudes, listen, the shit that Fat Joe and Big Pun and Jay-Z and all that, it's hard for me to believe that they did any of that, right? But their job is to paint the picture. No matter how dark or how flamboyant or how whatever, their job is to paint the picture for the sake of entertainment. I get pissed off at rap entertainers because I don't even think it's a hip-hop thing. I think it's an entertainer thing. You should be responsible for your content.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you know your content leads to a certain vibe and a certain action. Like when I hear the drill music and then the revenge hip hop, when people are talking about shooting up funerals and all that stuff, I'm like, dude, come on. Like that's insane. But I understand, to your point, how you started about it. Like, people are rapping about what they see and they know. But there still has to come some type of responsibility to what you put out, knowing that what you're putting out is promoting a certain lifestyle and culture that are killing folks in your own community that look and breathe and walk just like you. So it's weird, man, because I do, like, people like to use excuse of, well, what about movies? Well, I was like, yeah, but actors, like, you're watching a movie, you're watching an actor, you're watching somebody who is,
imitating what goes on in the world.
Imitating what's going on, right? Once they walk off set, they're no longer, when Giselle walked away from doing,
Training Day,
was American Gangster.
Yeah,
he didn't leave the set still trying to be Frank Lucas. He went back to being Denzel Washington. Yeah, there's a difference. A lot of these rappers, you can't tell how they're moving. And to your point, warrants the hip hop police, because if you're rapping about selling drugs, doing XYZ, and you're actually talking about it in your music, and it looks like what you're doing on social media, and it's all coming 360, what do you want the people to do? How do you want the authorities to respond when you walk, talk, and act like that? And so it's weird. Do I think artists should be charged? Should their lyrics be used against them in a court of law? No. But if there's something, if Ralph died, if my neighbor Ralph dies, and I'm rapping about killing somebody named Ralph,
thank you. I mean,
at a barbecue, and I'm rapping about all that, I'm like you
just laid it out on the table, Big Willie.
Yeah, like, what do you want the cops to do? So I'm always like, all right, well, it is what it is. Because if somebody named Ralph died that happened to be your neighbor, and you rapping about killing any Ralphs in the neighborhood, then, well, goddamn,
exactly.
Like, it's insane. So I guess welcome home, Young Thug, man. Hopefully this whole situation is onward and upward. JJ, we got to get out of here.
Yes, sir.
As always, I'm Willie Cologne, and he is
JJ, baby. And stay tuned for another episode of Belle Collective this Friday, and we will see you next week.
Peace.